Hey guys, FilthyRobot here, showing you how to beat large orc camps. These are the late game Sea of Tent orc mega camps with a guaranteed warlord and a ton of orc young, orc warriors, etc. These are my favorite camps in the game to fight. I find them the things I'm building towards all game long. They have great chances of famed items, often 55 to 60% chance of famed items. The way famed item rolls in this game work is if you do roll, so like with a 57% chance to get a famed item, if you roll under 57, you get a famed item, and then you roll again, and if you get under that, again, the reduction in that number. So let's say you rolled a 20, it would go down to a 37. If you then rolled under a 37, you get a second famed item. So there's a pretty decent chance in these camps to get double famed items. And orc weapons are really good in the late game. And there's a fairly high chance with this many warriors to see orc famed items. In this particular clip, I believe there is an orc famed shield, which I also like for mega tanks. Overall, it's a great chance for loot. It's a super cool fight. There's a ton of orcs. It can be a very challenging fight. And I'm going to try to walk you through how I approach these fights. So first up, strategy for this. The strategy is allow the young to engage with while you have Indomitable up, so you aren't losing turns. Start killing them aggressively. The goal is to break their orc morale and kill the orc young off as quickly as possible. Put your highly tanky brothers on the corners, the goal being to stall berserkers, warlords, and warriors as long as possible to give yourself time to kill stuff. Bring a banner. You need a banner to deal with the warlord buff, as well as just the fact that if any of your brothers ever break in this fight, they die if there's no banner there. And the banner's okay. It does. It has a lot of functionality here. It does a little bit of damage. For my banners at this point, I'm running rotate and footwork on them, so it can be very good for fixing position. I tend to bring one ranged unit, be it an archer or a hybrid. I have had a scenario where 30 orcs were on high ground, and I didn't bring any archers, and they didn't come forward, and they sat on their high ground. And I'm like, wow, there's not a chance in hell that I'm going to go chase orcs up high ground for this. And I think I had to leave and reset for an archer. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the positioning, the setup. So I try to run basically 6 front here, spaced out a little bit. I want them coming in these middle spots. The faster units, berserkers and young, are going to get there first and take those positions. And these are the targets I want to kill. Your highest priority target in this fight are berserkers. Especially berserkers that are trying to flank, followed by orc young, particularly orc young that are going to stun annoying positions, and then it is a mix of warriors and the warlord. Warriors are a really fun unit to fight in a sense. They're a very powerful unit. They do a lot of damage. They take a lot to kill. Their morale is fairly bad, and they have pushback effects, so they can mess up your line. I don't like fighting orc on elevation changes for the same reason I don't like fighting necro savants on holds or wolf riders on elevated positions. And that's because with elevation change, the unit that can control the positioning is going to have an advantage. And orc warriors able to push you back means they often control the positioning. The orc trinket's useful in fights like this. It basically saves one guy a bunch of stamina not having to run Indomitable a couple turns, but it's not all that useful because unfortunately the orc trinket makes you immune to stun but not immune to pushback, which means that once warriors get in there, they can push into your lines. A lot of the fight is going to be about positioning in such a way that your archers are not ever vulnerable. This might mean they only get to shoot once per round, they have to back up. It might mean that you're going to just not be using them a lot. It might mean that you're going to have to be positioning reserve units to protect them, but that's how it's going to be. This is a race. This is a DPS race in a very similar way that fighting Ancient Undead, late game Ancient Undead is a DPS race. There's a lot of orcs here. If you don't kill them quickly, they will overrun you. You will be taking hits on your armor. It's inevitable. Even with very good melee defenses, you will get hit from time to time, and you will run out of armor doing that. There's a number of things that can go wrong in this fight. The number one thing that goes wrong is orc young repeatedly stunning you. You know the turn they're able to engage. Basically, the orc stun charge doesn't allow them to move more tiles than they would move manually anyways. It just means they get to stun in from that. So the first turn, you don't need to run Indomitable, but the second turn you do. I think it's how it works, right? So whatever turn, because the orc young are going ahead of you. So I guess, yeah, turn 1, they move forward. No, it is turn 1 you need to Indomitable. So turn 1 you're Indomitable. But my point being that you want Indomitable active on your front rank for the turn that they're going to hit you with the charge stuns, because you do not want to lose turns. You'd also like to position ideally in such a way that the people, if you see, for example, let's say we killed these bottom 2 orcs there's no orc young around here. The berserkers can stun in, but we might take that risk and maybe not Indomitable there. But up north here, if we were to kill, like, for example, the orc with the club right there's 4, I think I count 6, 7 orc young there. If we have the stamina to do it, we're going to want to Indomitable, because they are going to stun charge in over there, and we do not want to be losing turns. That's one of the quickest way to lose the game and these fights, is to repeatedly lose turns to stun actions. The Warlord is not all that much of a threat, surprisingly. He often spends quite a bit of time getting to you because he will alternately rally his troops while moving a small amount. He does hit like a truck. And certainly we do not want to be hit by an Orc Warlord repeatedly, especially two-handed Orc Warlords. You just don't want to be hit by Mansplitters in general. The damage range on those weapons is very, very high. The ways to deal with that are Disarm. Disarm is excellent versus the Orc Warlord, and positioning. You can also focus fire Orc Warlords pretty hard. They don't have all that much more HP than a Warrior. So if he comes into a position, like here, we're deliberately leaving a low ground position in front of the hammer, bringing a high value target into that position and then staggering him so he guarantees to go last, allows us to focus him nicely. I do like, when you set these up, I like hammers and mega tanks on the corners. Oftentimes, the way this works is the quicker units arrive in the middle, they spread down the row of your defensive units, and the slower units make it to the side, like Orc Warriors. I like hammers versus Orc Warriors. They do insane damage to Orc Warrior armor. And I like things like swords, particularly swords with AoE attacks versus Orc Young and Berserkers. You're often in the early game, the early part of this fight, dumping stamina to just kill as many of these as rapidly as possible. And you do lose stamina like crazy in this fight because you're spamming Indomitable plus multi-attacks a lot of the time. Remember the trick, this is the same trick you can use versus Ancient Undead, about using, about passing your turn even when you've used all your action points. So every brother has, you know, he can wait and then take the second half of his turn, and he can wait after he's done his action. So even if you attack, let's say you're a one-handed weapon, you're a one-handed sword brother, which takes 4 AP to attack, you use 8 AP to attack twice, you have 1 AP left, you can't do anything with 1 AP. Doesn't matter. If you're on the front line, pass your turn. Don't end it, pass it. Because if an Orc Young stuns into you, if he stun charges you when you're out of action points like that, but you haven't ended your turn, the second half of your turn will remove that stun. So one of the ways to deal with Orc Young is to leave people with 0 AP in a position where they're going to get stunned, and just eat the stun that way and not lose your next turn, which is super important. Okay, so whips will disarm the high priority targets. I like a reserve unit. For example, you can see this Axeman back here is kind of a reserve unit. I often use Megas as reserve units, and I sometimes will just walk away from orcs in general with Megas, to walk away from them to move. It's basically about protecting the units that are high risk to orcs as much as possible, and that's going to change from fight to fight because the way orcs act, they knock you around, they move your line around. You're going to have to be adapting to that on the fly of how that looks. A couple other things to talk about. I often bring 2 shields on my Megas versus Orcs. I like them hitting my shields. I run shield spec on my Megas, and I often will bring a heater shield coming into the fight, and then in their inventory, I'll also have an Orc shield in that. It takes a huge stamina hit to do this, but the goal is to have the Orc spend 2 turns breaking your heater shield, or 3 turns, or 3 attacks. Particularly Berserkers using their axe to hit my shield is so much better than Berserkers using their axe to hit me. And then I will pull out another shield, an Orc shield with 75 durability or whatever they have, which is multiplied by the shield durability, and watch them spend another couple turns hitting it. And then if they break my second shield, by that time there's often a warrior shield or so on the ground, and I will pick up another Orc shield and continue to use that. Any attack the Orcs spend on you, especially if it's multiple actions or multiple turns, attacking you in a way that doesn't actually do damage to you is fantastic. This is a DPS race. If they're spending 5 turns, if 5 Orc warriors end up like a little bit later on, let's see if we can find it, like here, where there's 3 orcs surrounding this mega. If they are spending turns, I think that might actually be one of my guys, but you get the idea. The guy on the side who gets surrounded by 3 to 4 people, and if they're spending the time attacking my high durability shields, these are famed shields with increased durability, and then I'll switch those out for an Orc shield. If they're spending 2 turns doing that, or 3 turns doing that, and there's 3 of them, and then maybe 1 or 2 of them doesn't have an axe, so he's attacking me while I have my shield out like that, that's so much of their damage potential wasted in a round. Another thing to think about, you can see it starting to happen in this picture, is orc morale is pretty bad. If you can get a lot of kills quickly on orcs, their morale will break, especially if they're on the other side of the map from the warlord. So potentially trying to break orcs are pretty good. There's one way this can backfire. If you break an orc warrior early on in the turn before they've acted, and then a warlord comes and rallies him, he will get his turn back. So I've been in the situation where I've saved a brother, saved him, by breaking the morale of an orc warrior who's next to him who's going to kill him, only to have the warlord rally him and then the orc warrior to have a turn. So be slightly aware of your positioning when you're trying to do that, but in general, focusing low morale, low resolve warriors is really good for that. It removes the damage by doing that. Weapons of choice, hammers are really good. Famed maces are good. Regular maces, regular two-handed maces are okay as well. Sorry, famed two-handed maces, I should have been clear. Regular maces are, two-handed maces are okay because they do put that damage reduction, but you really want damage. I like swords for Orc Young, although swords are not particularly, two-handed swords that is, not particularly great versus warriors, and cleavers have been mixed for me. Basically my rule of thumb for cleavers is if it's a famed cleaver and it has good damage, I'll probably use it. If it doesn't, I probably won't, since I've not been very impressed with the armor penetration of that. Knockback is not very good in this fight. So if you are using two-handed hammers, it's rare that I want to AoE with a two-handed hammer because the AoE two-handed hammer has a 33% chance to knock back. And the problem with knocking orcs back is then they charge stun back into you and cost you your turn. So if you knock back an Orc Young, that just means the beginning of the next time that Orc Young comes on his turn, next time that Orc Warrior comes back towards you on his turn, he's going to stun you. And you really don't want that. So be careful about AoEing with the hammers unless you're okay with that potential happening. Two-handed axes are also good in this fight. Two-handed axes have very good high single target damage. And again, you're basically focusing down the Orc Young followed by the Berserk, or the Berserkers followed by the Orc Young followed by the Warriors. What else? This fight is extremely dangerous in Swamp. Swamp is a straight buff for orcs. You think it might not be because, you know, orcs will fatigue out because orcs care about their attack value, but it works like this, right? The accuracy and melee. So when you're in heavy swamp, deep water of swamp, you take a melee accuracy and melee defense debuff, and it's percent based. And that debuff is going to always hit your brothers more and harder than it hits the orc brothers. And because the orcs position better than you, because they have knockback as basically a ability that they can use whenever they want, and you don't have that kind of positioning power, you will eventually end up in deep water relative to the orcs, and you will lose more attack than the orcs lose, and you will lose more defense than the orcs lose. These are the most dangerous Sea of Tent fights for me, have always been in deep swamp. Don't overbring archers. Don't overbring backline. Your backline will get penetrated. There will be a shit ton of holes pushed in your line by the orcs running around. So be a little bit careful with your backliners. Positioning is really key here. Watch the flankers. I like reserve units. Megas are generally high enough melee defense that sometimes you can just walk away from orcs if you have to. Just don't disengage. It's not disengage. It's not footwork. You just literally walk away. And to do that to protect somebody else's position, that's fine. And then try to do your best to prevent the warlord from getting in a good position or delay the warlord for that. But overall, super fun camp, super fun fight. You often will lose brothers in these fights, not all the time. You prefer not to be losing them often, but sometimes something will go horribly wrong and you'll get 2 or 3 shot by an orc, or somebody won't get their defense up in time and will just would be taking a bunch of damage. But overall, the fight is just, it's a really, really fun fight. It's a nice late game fight. It shows you what your brothers can do. You're looking at like this sea of greenskins charging you, and it's just super, super cool. One of my all-time absolute favorite fights in Battle Brothers. I hope you guys enjoy it. See you soon. Anything in these hills? Yeah, that's what I want to see. That's an orc camp. Skullhalden. All right. '17th shield. How many do we have so far? No, but really, how many shields do we have? I don't know. Like, I've sold so many. Like, how many have we got this playthrough? Is it really 16? We have 16. We've had 17 total this playthrough. Wow. Well, what can I say? We're good at this game and we know it. I want to hit people with this monstrosity. This guy's not leveled enough. I'm not sure if this little guy can come in either. This is the hammer spec guy. No nimble. Neither of the people without nimble can come. Like, they're just not allowed in this fight. No nimble, no come to this fight. We're bringing this group. What does this guy do? Hit shit very hard. These guys hit shit relatively hard over here. It's a lot of hitting shit. That's what I'm getting at. Like this, I guess. Okay. Backup shields, you're gonna get this one broken because this one is garbage. Is there another one we want to get broken that's also garbage? This one is actually decent. This is a type of fight I'd want to use it. I think this is the other one, right? Oh, that's increased melee defense. That one's okay. This is the one that's slightly increased durability. This is also fine. I want to break the black one. Oh, this one? This was increased durability as well. So these are actually fine in these fights. It's funny because this is actually fine in this fight too. It's just a little bit heavy. I think these are fine to be broken. Okay. Alright, everybody set up for killing stuff. We've got axes and more axes and more axes. Seems okay. I think we'll switch these hats up. 130, 130. Go. All right. There's a lot of two-handed axes there. Anyone see famed orc items? I see a famed orc shield. In the middle right there. I like famed orc shields. You get a good roll on a famed orc shield, it's something you can actually use. We've already had 2 famed orc shields this playthrough, just weren't able to keep them. How did you live, you little shit? No one knows. Oh, he was in a pit. I didn't even notice. Okay. You want to get a shield? You want 20 shields so we can have one for every brother? And then we just do like, it's just like parade day, but shields. I could see that. That seems reasonable. I hate this Orc Young. He's taking so much damage. Little shit. Should have AoE'd maybe. So there's still Orc Young, so if I don't Indomitable here, we will get stunned. Okay, the Berserkers are actually having a hard time finding a spot right now, which is nice. Set up for a lot of double kills in this area too, which is really good as well. Breaking that shield. Random misses at 95%, I assume. 89. Nope, that was a 95. Don't like Sardaukar taking quite as many hits as that. $90 miss. Do need to start killing a little bit quicker than this though. I can get a double attack here. I think I should wait to do it. Let the Orc Young, who haven't stunned, pass their turn yet. Alright, he can't be stunned, so this is a little bit more exciting of an attack. I was really hoping that would kill. Should have Indomitable there. I don't know if I had the stam or not. So we'll get Orc Stun next to the Berserker, which sucks. Oh, maybe a triple indeed. The stagger doing work on the berserker. They're still beating that shield up. Okay. Can move up to 2 and still attack. Don't really want to be close to this. Probably kill that, but I don't actually want to make room for that berserker quite yet, or the warlord. Let's let the warlord run around a little bit more first. Maybe should have Indomitable there. Gotta watch that this one doesn't. Oh, it's not that one. Where's this one? We already have him pinned him. Great. How's our shield doing? 28%. Kind of want to lose that shield. It's not the highest priority one to lose. Just broke that guy. Broke that guy. He's bleeding. Should probably move there to reduce stuns. It lets the warlord move through. Oh, it does. Well, it might. I might just stay there. Could recover here. I would like to get in this way. It's a big hole over here. That's a bit of a problem. You can probably kill pretty aggressively around it. And there might be a orc coming up that way in a second. This is a pretty weak brother in terms of HP. This is the... I think we're gonna wait here. We're gonna get stunned if we wait. Maybe that guy might stun us. Alright, this is where we'd like to be. Right there. Perfect. Keeping all of these guys broken. Maybe should have Indomitable there. How's the shield at? Fine, we'll save it. We're waiting here for the warlord to show up. Can wait there for it to run. There it goes. I don't like that. That one rallied off of the warlord's cry. Don't have AP for taunt? Don't have AP for taunt. Alright, I saved the swing here for the warlord to slow it down. I was hoping that would re-break it, but it didn't. No attack there. No attack there. No. This is a little sketchy. It's hard to see what the fuck's going on right now, but that's a bad position right now. This isn't a great position either. Nice. That's why he took the kill on the wounded one for the break. More breaking. Is he broken? Oh, he's fleeing too. Get screwed. All right. I want to kill that. This is going to be a glorious round when they run. Yeah, I'm liking this round so far. Look how many free attacks we get. It's fucking great. They're all broken now, right? So it's just let them run and let them die. Oh, that one's not broken yet. But the rest are. Sweet. I'm gonna make sure the warlord doesn't get away. A satisfying round. Great. All right. 1500 on the hybrid, 1700 on the hammer, 1200 on the famed axe, 1200 on the other hammer, only 1000 on the mace. Got the orc shield and no other famed item, so this was just the drop. It is a basic orc shield with improved durability, another low roll basically. Still weighs the same. Okay. All right. It's a thing, I guess, that happens. 65% to get a famed item. Instead, we get that.